welcome to our 190th episode of Gorilla Radio. And I'm Joe Caprino. Hopefully you can hear me, because I just got to double check that all the audio settings are good. And I'm joined by Mike, as always.
What's up? What's up?
And we are going to talk about Team State today. And I just want to make sure that we can hear me, because I have a sneaky feeling that I screwed up the audio stuff. So, we're going to talk Team State. Okay, I can't hear me, so good. Just wanted to make sure. So, let's make sure we have our comments. Sometimes that doesn't come up right away.
Our handy dandy notebook.
Yes, we have a little bit of an agenda today. Last week was not very. Let's see. It was kind of a slow week. The North Montgomery duels was going on, and that was about the main thing. A couple of pretty good duels going on during the week. I'll go over those. Hey, we got comments, so our fans should be here. We had a long pregame show, and I didn't get Mike's text for 20 minutes that he was ready. So that's why we're on late.
But it shouldn't be that long. So there wasn't a ton going on, and kind of slow week. Late ranking.
Yep, got some rankings out, and let's see what last week. We'll go over. We'll kind of switch our agenda up a little bit. I'm going to last week. Had a couple good duels. Belmont Adams Central. That was a 40-33 match. Right when oh, good. We got him. And then Terre Haute South and Mater Dei. Mater Dei brought back the tights.
I seen that, man. But I said I felt like last year with the state finals being in Evansville, you had two guys under the lights. That's the time to bring the tights back, right?
Yes.
That place would have went nuts.
Yes, it was. Should have gone there. Then and Mater Dei won 63-10 there. Westfield over Bishop Chatard, and then Floyd Central and Tell City. I do not have the result for that. So
I think I just seen Floyd Central won. I seen it on Handy Dandy Track. Floyd 48, Tell City 28.
48-28. I will update that score real quick while I'm here. That's a good win for Floyd Central. I know they've kind of been up and down a little bit. So
yeah, look like they're down a couple guys. I know Tell City was out. Chase Stevens too.
Yeah. And then North Montgomery, New Haven. Oh wow, Whiteland beat I didn't realize Whiteland beat New Haven in the individual tournament. New Haven didn't have one guy. They didn't have one of their wrestlers. They did not have a 38, 40, 150. So they did not have some guy named Easton.
He's pretty decent. That'd have been a nice one to have in the lineup.
I think he would have scored more than 11 points. I'm gonna take a little bit of a gamble.
Man, I think, but shout out to Whiteland. I think Whiteland's kind of a sneaky team. They could be in the mix next year for a Team State bid. They're young. I mean, obviously they come out of a pretty tough regional, but I think they have some good young. I think they have a bunch of freshman, sophomore on their team. They have some good middle school guys coming in.
Yep. They have 1, 2, 3. They have 4 seniors, kind of lower. Jaden Farr, Kay Beasley, both at 120 and 126. Jacob Atkins at 144, and then they're 190. So those are a little bit easier areas to replace. As someone that has coached, and if replacing having your upper weights back for multiple years helps solidify a really good team. Just ask teams like Brownsburg and Crown Point and Center Grove, and then when they leave, sometimes if you don't have the guys filling in, then it can make a big difference. But yeah, that's going to be big for them. So that was it. Girls sectional was last week. Our first official IHSWCA tournament for girls, and congratulations to all those girls that qualified. And we have some we do have our fancy dancy brackets with the rankings on them. Brandon's been keeping up on the rankings, and there's some pretty good brackets. Maybe we'll get with him to maybe do a show later in the week. Got to see how the schedules play out, but
yeah. Shout out to the two girls that wrestle that play softball for me, Ali Luca and Kylie Spencer. They both qualified for the regional.
Nice.
Kylie was a qualifier, a state qualifier 2 years ago, so it's pretty exciting for them. Both are gonna play softball in college, but
so I'm gonna change up our agenda. We'll talk about this week, and then we'll rank our team state moments. That's what we're ranking this week. So
there's a lot.
Everything that is not happening, anything that is not team state oriented, tomorrow night is Adams Central at Homestead. 1A number 2 versus a 4A qualifier.
We didn't even talk about that. Homestead sneaking in the back door.
Yes,
huh?
Yeah. Late news.
I know there was some controversy, some angry texts.
Yes.
I think I know Andy doesn't have a lot of hair, but he had the side bang. You want to speak to the manager of the IHSWCA?
Yeah. So Zionsville backed out. I think they they're hosting an event, and I'm thinking they probably did not feel they could do both at the same time, and obviously that was probably not an easy decision to make, or you accept it and then like I'm not sure if we should do this. So
yeah, I think we kind of talked about that. I know we said that Hanover's hosting the county that day. There's a couple other teams that had
New Haven's hosting an event. East Noble last year got in as a vote-in, and they're hosting their event. So
and I think that's incredibly hard. Like how do you split it? Then you have to keep. You're not going to go there full strength because you have to keep guys back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you want to make moves, I know that's like one of the things. I know Crown Point sends their varsity 2, but it's like 2-3 to the county. And you want to see how some of those guys would do, but they have to take their better guys to Team State, obviously, to kind of compete.
Yeah, that's one of the first years we were in it with Carroll. It was the same day as Team State was the same day as Connersville, and we sent our second team to Connersville, and it was, do we keep a couple of our better backups just in case, or we send them to Connersville and get some really good matches? Mm-hmm. And we end up sending those guys to Connersville, obviously, and we came with 14 guys, ended up got a couple kids got a little banged up and didn't wrestle the last match or two, and I don't know if it would have made a difference, but it was one of those things that you look at and like, I don't know what do you want to do? Do you want to take a bunch of guys to sit the bench and enjoy the experience, or do you want them to go get matches to make themselves better for next year? So it's a tough decision to make.
And I think we kind of talked about it, and I'm happy for those guys. I'm giving Andy a hard time, obviously, but you want to see teams that are excited, and not that Zionsville wasn't. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I know Homestead really wanted that, and I think it means a lot to their program. And I'm sure Zionsville, they're young and they're going to be in the mix going forward. But I thought Homestead has a good amount of seniors, but I think they were really excited to get the invite. And it's going to be hard, man. You're in a hard division, and you're going to have a hard team right off the bat.
Yeah, yes. There's no easy. There's no warm up matches. So other matches going on this week: Penn and Mishawaka. That's always a fun rivalry. Greenfield Central and Roncalli wrestle.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, on Wednesday.
We already had the seats out for 3A, but that'd have been a nice one to see last week.
Yeah. Yes. So what? And I know I don't have the brackets memorized, so they are not. They won't see each other. They'd see each other in the semifinals if they would see each other. So they are. That'd have been. I'm glad they were separated, to say the least. And then Owen Valley at Bloomington South. Oh, Cathedral and Columbus East Wednesday. Owen Valley at Bloomington South. So some really. It'd almost be better to look at some of these and do seeds. Do seeds Thursday. Westfield at Zionsville. Harrison at Center Grove. Mishawaka, Northridge, Crown Point, Maryville. That should be a good one. And then I'm looking here. That's about it for single duels. Obviously, Lake County, as Michael has said, that's always a good event.
Yeah, I mean, kind of tough. I know there's a couple teams that decline. I know there's a couple Porter County teams that come to it. But I mean, you're taking out some of the top teams. I think you're taking out obviously the Crown Point to Lake County team. Lowell with the number one seed in 3A won't be there. Hanover Central, who's in 2A, won't be there. So I mean, you're taking out some pretty significant wrestlers.
Yeah. Pretty much the other term, you have the Bill Kerbal, which is going to be, man, I got hit hard. Usually a pretty solid tournament, but Eastside's not going to be there. Homestead's not going to be there. New Haven's not going to be there. Northfield used to be in it. They're usually in it. So there's like 4 teams that are getting taken out of that one. So
I mean, I don't know the answer to this. No one said anything to me, so I'm not saying it from my own personal experience. But do you feel like teams that are in the mix to go to Team State are going to have less invites to those tournaments like that in the future? Like if you're the Bill Kerbal and you're like, well, I don't want to lose these guys every year, would you try to replace them with someone else?
That's a good question. I'd say the invitationals, it doesn't matter as much because you're just having a bracket. And you might, it adds a little bit to the, if you're going to be a bubble team every year, maybe, that'd be if you're going to be, I'm trying to think of the teams that are kind of bubble. Seems like Greenfield Central's kind of been a bubble team the past 3 or 4 years. That might hurt them for getting into an event this weekend, but usually I know. I was talking to Mike Morgan, and he said that he talked to the East Noble AD or coach. I don't know exactly who. But he said, can you guys put it in our contract that if we make Team State that we're not going to go to your event? So coaches probably should be a little bit more proactive with it, I think.
I think an event obviously you can't do it. No, I haven't found my bandage shirt yet. I looked too, man. I have one more spot I got to look.
I'll wear mine too. I forgot. I was going to grab mine, but I got busy.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not wearing my bandage shirt on an everyday basis, Ben. I was happy to get it, but I don't wear it every day. I think like events like the Bill Kerbal, I mean, you can't really do it at the Lake County. I mean, I guess you kind of could, but if you're in those events, like the teams that were in the bump mix to get voted in that had that weekend open, I know people were posting, hey, looking for an event like a Mishawaka or who's the alternate or Jay County they're hosting. They probably don't want to go up there or out there.
Yeah.
But teams like that are Prairie Heights, teams that had that weekend that they probably felt like they were going to be in the mix or they were in the vote-in mix and they had that weekend open, maybe they can go to like a Bill Kerbal with teams that are leaving, kind of get a different blend.
Mishawaka is going to East Noble. I just saw that today. And I know Prairie Heights is going to the West Noble Super Duel, so they end up finding places to go. So it's interesting. I'm kind of surprised that voting enough teams were interested in being able to finagle their schedule because I know I've worked with enough ADs scheduling. Some of them are very sticklers that we have to have our schedule set like 12 years in advance and we can't change things because we got a contract through 2058 type stuff. So,
yeah, I think it's become a really cool event, and I think the excitement of it. We were kind of talking about off air. I'm sure we'll talk about it when we talk about Team State, but that teams are really like excited to go there and get the matches and get those opportunities and wrestle for a state title.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, I guess that's a good transition into what it started out as. And we were talking before we went on. There was a lot of questions around the whole evolution. I have a lot of fun emails I kept just for historical purposes, I guess. And I know originally they were talking about just having some like in basketball, they have a Hall of Fame invite over Christmas break, and they invite, I don't know how many teams, 4 teams, 8 teams, whatever it is, and they play basketball in a little mini tournament. And coaches were talking about that, like, oh, no one's going to want to do this. It's classes, no one wants to do classes. And once they kind of made the decision, hey, we're going to do classes, we're going to do 3 classes, we're going to do 8 teams, I think the biggest question mark is would teams decline because you're only going to get 3 matches. And we're like, well, you can go to our Super Duel and get 5 matches, but I always was like, but you're getting 3 guaranteed pretty good matches.
Yeah.
So,
or at Super Duel, you might only get 1 guaranteed good match, depending on the Super Duel, I guess.
Yeah. So it was like one of those things that I think there's a lot of questions like, are you going to want to go for 3 matches? And it was 2015, which seems this is the 11th one this year. So it seems like we're just at the tail end of we got to get 50 matches in every year or my kids aren't ready for sectional type.
50 is a lot, man.
Yeah.
That was a lot of matches back in the day. Those 54 and I was coming in.
Yeah. So that was one of the biggest things, and it was a big question mark. First year, it was great. It was a lot of great matches, and after that, I think it cooled off that, hey, people don't care about the number of matches, they care about the quality of matches, and it's kind of grown crazy since then. If you do check I just did this before we went on the air, if you check our information center, I do have I have a link to all the track wrestling brackets, and then the final scores of each match for each class, so you can kind of see how it's grown and who had a stranglehold win and some of the teams that have been in it forever. So it's some kind of neat stuff, and you can go back and look at some of the scores and some of the teams. And I forgot that Belmont Jimtown was a match. Jimtown made the finals the one year. Yorktown ran through it for the first few years. I think Jimtown was it Jimtown that beat I'm pulling up the bracket now. Yeah, Jimtown beat Yorktown 31-30 in the semifinals. It was huge. First time they'd lost at Team State in this is like the 4th year. And after that it kind of went, their way. So, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean,
2013 was the first year.
I mean, even in the IHSWCA days, like Yorktown was a pretty good squad they were running into those regionals and all that.
They were just mauling people. They won They won 4 out of 5. So it's lots of great matches. So check that out and kind of relieve some of the days. And I know I will say that I was not a big fan of them going to 12 teams in each division when it was 3. I thought that was a little weird. The brackets that they did were kind of funky and confusing to explain to people. So, thankfully, we went to a full, just regular bracket with the buys now, and no one has complained, and it's much easier to explain to people.
One year I was like a big trash talker of it. I think the year that Cathedral didn't qualify and then declined, when I was the biggest Fighting Irish fan. And I was like, how can we have a team state if the individual champs can't be there? But I don't think that happens anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of in the past. I know I was giving those guys a hard time. Like on here I might seem fun and happy, but I like to talk a lot of trash in the group text and a bunch of stuff around. I mean, if you talk to me anytime during the state finals weekend, you probably know I'm a trash talker.
Yeah. And Rex is 1,000% correct. The Allen County War Memorial Coliseum was the best venue.
It was
all the classes together, and one of the biggest moments. I'll just say, all of a sudden, you just see. It was kind of pretty much everyone was done, and then all of a sudden you see these people hovering, like sprinting to a mat, and you're like, "What's going on? Oh crap, that's match is happening." So we'll talk about that here pretty soon, but.
Yeah, that was. That was really cool. I think that was the last, probably the smaller class I've seen. Past that, I've only been to the 4A. I went to Westfield one time, going gym to gym. Terry's always a good host over there. Obviously, that's my dude. But I didn't go to the Ball State one. The War Memorial Coliseum was really good. But you get to see like the 1A and 2A teams. I think they brought like these huge crowds, and I think that was like the first time I was like, man, this means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, so like I think the 1A crowds were just as good, if not stronger, than the 4A crowds or 3A crowds at the time.
Yeah, and hearing the roars from like the 1 and 2A area, and you're thinking there was a big upset, and no, it was two guys that might be 500, and the one kid pinned him, but both teams knew that was like a swing match, and that just you'd think that there's did someone some right guy go down over there? No, it was just a really big match between two guys that this is their moment. So
yeah, and like I was lucky enough to wrestle in some really good like team semi-state things. We ran into some really hard teams, but those were like big events for me then, and I'm sure like we weren't in a class thing then, but I'm sure like those guys are coming up with big matches to win duels for their community, to possibly wrestle for a team state. And which I mean we can say, it's as even as anything in the state, but like every year we're watching basically the four. I'm not like a class wrestling guy, so like I'm probably the furthest thing from a class wrestling guy. But the biggest schools generally take up the most champs every year. So
yeah, yeah. So it's great. It's grown, and I think it's awesome that this 1 and 2A schools are really excited to be there. That they're the ones that are making T-shirts. The 4A schools don't really. I won't say they don't care, but it's more about the process. It's like, yeah, we expect to be here. The 1 and 2A schools really, it means a lot to them to go and to participate, and then also to be competitive too. So it's real cool seeing how everything has worked. So
we won. I think we wrestled those Wednesdays like my first 3 years of high school. So I liked it. I mean, we didn't know anything else. So like I just thought it was part of it,
Yeah.
Like we sectionals, then you go wrestle you did the Highland Regional, and then the Valparaiso semi-state. So
I like I like the team regionals and team semi states on Wednesday because I'd go scout kids.
we lost a guy one year like to an injury. He got returned and broke his arm. And then there was the regional week, the team regional, so they lose the semi-state. I mean, that's tough, I guess.
Yeah, I saw Austin Ruick dislocate his elbow, and in a meaningless match, Carroll was getting beat anyway, and he was wrestling really well that year, and that was horrible to see. And he ended up trying to go wrestle us, and it just was that was bad. It was he was a good kid and had put things together that year, and probably would have gone to state. And it's like, oh, this is horrible. And in a match that he didn't really need to wrestle because they were losing it. They were going to lose anyway. So.
Yeah, we never wrestled any of the meaningless matches at the team regional, Joe. No, but I understand, like, if you didn't have a chance, like, I'm sure if you were down in the Evansville area, you kind of knew how those were going to go.
Yeah.
Every year I was in high school, Mater Dei won it. In that area, I'm sure they knew who the representative was going to be. So if you wanted to take Wednesday off, I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mater Dei wasn't taking Wednesday off, but if you wanted to be whoever, I mean, I'm sure they had some good ones. Someone can step in and say whatever Mater Dei duel on a Wednesday team regional is the best one ever. But I'm sure like those guys had a good idea who was going to represent the South.
Yes.
At Center Grove High School.
Yeah. So let's go into our best team state moments.
I put some chicken scratch on here, so let's hope I remember what I wrote down.
Okay, so mine. I'm going to start
number
off
5?
with personal. I'll start off with my number 5, and this one is a very unique one, and people will get a chuckle out of it, and it's actually the only time that's ever happened in my career as a coach. But 2017, we wrestled Crown Point, and we won 36-32. Beating Crown Point's no. I mean, we did that a lot before they got good. No, I'm kidding. But the biggest thing about that is we only won 6 matches. They won 8. So it was the only time in my coaching career that we won. We lost. We won the least number of matches, but still won the duel. So we had all pins, and didn't give up pins in every one of our matches. So that was a really it's an odd one, but I had to throw that in just because it was kind of fun and something you don't see very often.
Uh, my number five, obviously I don't have any personal experience. So my number five was the first one, which ended up being the Perry Meridian over Franklin. A little foreshadowing for the Tante path, right, in the 3A. 2A Yorktown over Memorial and 1A Adams Central over Busco. I think the first one, number five for me, like the first event, I'm sure that there was a lot of logistics to get that going. I know we always talked about like the emails between all those guys to kind of get that ball rolling. So,
Yeah, that is my number four. Like you said, it got the ball rolling, and it was just a culmination of a lot of work and some. I can tell you, there's some coaches. Derek Snyder doesn't get enough credit. I've said this probably multiple times for the passion he had. Some of the emails and the texts and the calls and stuff that we had with him, and he was like, "We got to do that. We got to do something. We got to do it right. We got to do it right from the beginning." And I think he was very passionate about it. Obviously, he loves the team duel aspect of wrestling, and so I think that was getting the ball rolling and doing it right, and then obviously they've molded things throughout the years. So yeah, definitely there.
yeah, my number four was the 21 when Floyd Central was a late ad in the 3A. They ran it to the championship. They didn't get in, and then Columbus East had to pull out. Obviously, we all remember what happened in those wild times of. We were like one of the only states that felt like they got a state finals in that COVID year, though, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like we were on that NCAA. That was the year I was going to work NCAAs with you. I was on that NCAA email train with like Jordan Burroughs and Anthony Robles and all those guys.
Yeah.
But Floyd Central getting that late ad and then running into the championship match was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a real cool moment, and obviously there was our southern friend Dustin was very adamant that Floyd Central was overlooked, and then they run it to the finals and almost win it.
What, did we do vote-ins that year? We only did one vote-in that year, right?
I think so.
Or maybe that was the one that we ended up adding the vote in because of that. So it was pretty significant. We started understanding that there's such teams that don't kind of hit the year before, and then there's transfers or incoming freshmen, and it's hard to quantify like how those guys would impact lineups in the formula we have. And Malign does a great job. He puts a lot of like work into that, and it kind of spits out pretty accurately like what it's going to look like.
Yeah, the thing is, I will say, obviously, I agree with Mr. Ben. That was not a fun time, but it did. I think the biggest thing is everyone was concerned about making schedules in November or December, and that's why they locked all the teams in basically in April, May. They had another vote. They had a vote for the last 3 or 4 teams, whatever it was, and COVID kind of opened the doors for having that extra team to vote in, and now we're using that vote every year, and now we have 4 instead of like 1 or 2. So actually, the COVID year helped us progress to what we have now with the votes, the late vote-ins, which has helped the depth of the team state. And Lowell is a great example. Lowell wasn't even close to the top 10 or top 12, and now that they're the number 1 seed, and we would have been sitting there like, dude, why didn't we see that? Obviously you didn't see it coming because they got a bunch of freshmen. They got a transfer from Illinois, came back home, and now look at them, they're number 1 seed. So that led to the evolution of the tournament. So
yeah, your number 3. When we go number 3.
Oh yeah, my number 3. 2016. Stephen Bam Lawrence versus Joe Lee.
That's also my number 3, so we can put it on for both.
So yeah, that was at the Coliseum. I remember we weren't wrestling, and all of a sudden I just see like people sprinting over to the mat, and I don't know if someone, I'm sure someone texted me or something. It's
I think I was me. I was there.
yeah,
I was in the bleachers.
yeah,
Someone told me that they were gonna bump Bam up to 52 to wrestle Jolie, and I think it was 52, right?
yeah. I think it was
45,
45 because they're
52.
both number ones, and they're bumping them up, and I'm gonna pull that up because it ended up being a pin late,
But it was a really good match. It was a good flurry. I think Bam was going for a takedown to take the lead, and I think Jolie just kind of stepped over and ended up pinning him.
yeah, and that was one of those. I think Portage needed that match to. Was it? When was that one? That was
2017, you said?
2017. When did that? I gotta look for what this bracket is. Oh, there. Oh, that was in the. No, that's Portage.
Semis.
Was it? Okay, hold on.
I don't think it was in the finals, in the semis, and then ended up
No,
being
it was
like,
in the. It was in the bracket, in the pools.
yeah.
It was in the pools, and it was middle of the match. No, wrong one. That wasn't it. Was it 2008? 16. I had 16. Sorry, there we go. There we go.
I could have told you I had 16 right next to it.
That was in the. That was in the pool again, and it came down to. Man, there's lots of unsportsmanlikes. Yeah, Jolie.
Did.
Yeah, it was in the pool again, and it was 8-6. So it was tied. 50 seconds to go. Joe stepped over it and pinned him. It's probably no.
It was a pretty exciting match. Not all those matches live up to the hype. That one definitely was like one of those ones that you were like, this is going to be a good match, and ended up being a really good match.
Yeah.
The Leafs had a good feel for that because I think that Nick Leach had lived up to the hype too.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a one that was on my list till we kind of went through a couple other things, was it 2015? Was the year?
No, would have been 17.
It was 15 at Ball State when Nick Lee hadn't wrestled all year, and we heard that he wasn't going to wrestle, and then he came back and throttled everybody to the final, and led Mater Dei to the finals, so to the championship. So that was another one. Maybe I get some Lee love. So
he went on to have a pretty good college career.
Yeah. So any other comments on the Joe Lee versus Stephen Lawrence?
I think those are really. I think that's one of the really cool things about the event is you're going to have so many high ranked kids. Like whether you believe in the rankings or not, I mean they're ranked, but like if you believe in it or not, like those matches are pretty exciting for the fans that are there. I think there's been several of those where you're like, oh man, they're gonna bump so and so here. I mean, we could have also said, I didn't put it on there. I guess I could have. I will. I'll actually say that one. I'm gonna knock one of my off the list for the next one.
Okay. Do you want to go over what your next one is?
My next one. So I'm gonna add it. I thought back to back. Maybe it was the same year, back to back years. Zeke Seltzer and Sergio Lemley, where they ended up bumping Cathedral and Chesterton. Chesterton bumped Sergio up to wrestle Zeke Seltzer. Zeke ended up getting the win. And then the next year, Zeke Seltzer bumped up to wrestle Jesse Mendez, two of the best in Indiana, where you had a 3-timer and a 4-timer going at it.
Yeah,
and obviously those guys didn't have to do that in those matches. They could have just went there and got a solid match another way, but they were like, nah, we're going to put it on the line. I think that's probably one of the coolest things that I enjoy as a fan from the event.
Yeah, that's one I kind of forgot about. But yes, those are big matches, and going after those matches, I know the Seltzer bumped up against Mendez. Didn't have to, like you said.
I think that's probably one of the only times Jesse's been taken down in like Indiana high school.
Yeah. Well, there's another time in the finals.
Yeah, that one was wild too. That could be on our state finals moments list.
Yes. So yeah, Seltzer not afraid to go after the competition, and that's pretty cool. I forgot about that one, but that was pretty cool, especially the Seltzer and Mendez match. So yeah, that was a good one. My number 2 is 2022. All finals matches. And I think we were kind of doing this from home. We didn't go to any of the didn't go to any of the events, and I don't know exactly the reason why, other than we weren't doing that. 3 of the 4 finals go down to the last match. If you look at the results, Crown Point over Brownsburg 29-28, Columbus East over Roncalli 34-31, Belmont. Belmont J County was a little bit close, and then it kind of got real ugly. Tell City over Rochester 36-33. So a lot of really good matches, and it was really cool to see all those matches just come down, and just the knowing what was at stake and those matches come down to those was pretty cool to see.
Were we on the mic for that one at Brownsburg? Is that the year we were down there? I know that like it was one of those things that they knew was good, and this is like the crazy like part of it, and it's not like a bad thing, but like they knew it was gonna be close, and they're like, hey, like we're not gonna shake the coach's hands because we don't want our guys to get too chippy and get hit for a team point, because if we lose a team point here, obviously we could lose the duel.
Were we down there? Because that one was the one.
The one that we did was the one where 2 years ago, Anthony Ball and like Anthony Ball and it wasn't Parker Reynolds, someone else.
The year that Anthony Ball wrestled, 2 unsportsmanlikes in it at 95 and 220. So Crown Point had one, and then so that's because he had Goodwin there. Go in, that was a crazy one.
That was crazy.
Coach Joe Litherland gave out Little Debbie zebra cakes after. That's classic. After they beat the Zebras of Rochester. So that was a crazy one. Were we watching it or were we there? No, we were there because it was Hockaday and Gendris. I remember seeing that match.
We were at that one, so
great week or great event there. So I'll go next. My number one, very much of a recency bias, and that was last year's finals at 4A, which came down to the last matches and a little bit of bumping, and 29-22 is about as low of scores you can see.
On the page, I think you put the wrong teams. You put Brownsburg defeated Parameridian in 24.
Hey, I will fix that. That is very wrong. So what was the score there? 26-22. Yes, thank you for that. I will fix that.
The singlets track for Brownsburg. I remember that. The headgear toss. Yep, the headgear toss, and they were like flipping out, and then.
Yes. Yeah. 26-20. Crown Point. What? Yeah.
Jesse lost a kid in Illinois that was going to IU. I remember he was sick, and they like still had him go out there, and I think he ended up losing close. And they said like that kid acted like he won the Olympics, and they said, well, that probably just took IU off the recruiting trail.
Yeah. So that was it was 26-22. You're not gonna get much closer than that. 48 points is crazy, and that was a great dual meet. So
yeah, my last one is just this like Crown Point Brownsburg rivalry over the last couple of years. I think has been really good. Just back and forth, and it's kind of like moves and counter moves, right? And where Brownsburg has made some bumps, sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. Some guys have come up big. I remember, I think 2 years ago was the year that I think they bumped Gunner up to Will Clark. I don't think he had beat Will Clark at that point. I think Will ended up pinning him in that one.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been the 39-24. And I know those guys put a lot of thought into what the other team's doing and kind of what the moves that they can make. And I'm sure was it last year who'd they win? They weighted someone really low, and we were like, oh, man, I can't believe so-and-so's weighing. Like they had, was it Jake they had registered at like a weight down?
Yeah, they had Jake down they had him originally listed at 126, I think.
So definitely some gamesmanship there between those guys. I think the rivalries that get built in this, like obviously those guys they see each other more now than they ever have. But the Yorktown Belmont, Garrett. I feel like Garrett's done a good job of kind of building that. The 3A rivalries. I think early on you had um, Brownsburg and Modern Day, or Brownsburg and Perry Meridian. I felt like Brownsburg, Perry Meridian were wrestling every year. So I think those rivalries have been pretty cool. And Crown Point and Brownsburg on the national level has been really good.
Yeah. Brownsburg's first one in 2016 over Warren Central was crazy because no one other than them kind of expected that. I think they came in as a fairly low seed, and actually they were like a three, or they were a 2 seed. It seems like, I think.
I mean, Brownsburg beat Perry back-to-back years, right? I think one year Brayton Lee closed it out, and then the next year Nathan Walton closed it out.
Yeah. So that first year they won over Warren Central was crazy because they had a couple big wins. I'm looking at it now. Ty Mills over Keon Murphy, who's ended up being the state champ. Let's see, I think that was the biggest one, and just some kids that kind of were almost, I won't say no names, but some guys that you weren't sure about, and they came out and they wrestled, big match there, and kind of started the ball rolling for Brownsburg because they won 3 in a row there.
They beat Warren, Perry, Warren, and then Perry got some revenge on him in 2020, but in the third and fourth place match, right? Cathedral over Modern Day, which is also a pretty cool one prestige wise. Mm-hmm. Like you have two probably the most decorated programs.
Yeah, so a lot of good matches. Crown Point's won the last 3, so they are looking to get their 4th in a row, which will be a tough task, and we'll talk about that here. Any other moments we want to talk about before we?
And we kind of touched on it, but I just think it's really cool how and I'm part of the voting committee, but I'm not part of the committee that makes decisions. But I guess like everyone in general is a part of the committee that makes the decisions, because I think that those guys listen very well, and they've listened to what people have said, like whether it's complaints or criticisms or praise. They've made that event the best it could be. Like, hey, you want another class? We'll add another class. Hey, you want to expand the field? We'll expand the field. You want to do more vote-ins? We'll do more vote-ins. And I think last year in a week or 2-week notice, we expanded the field to 12, and we got teams that were very worthy to be in there.
Yeah. No, I think I just think it's been cool to see how it's grown and evolved, and I like how it's going, and really all those people, McCormick, and
JD Minch early on,
and Greg Ratliff, all those people contributed to making the event such a great event. And now I think it's even hard. It's harder now that they're in 4 different locations, and you got to try to find locations that are suitable, people that will host, especially the 1 and 2A, people that will want to host, but also have the facilities to host, and also have hotels and things close by. So I know there's some people that we were asking about, where's the nearest hotels to Monroe? And that was like, ooh, that's a good question. So.
That's why we should have one in the region.
Yes, that's where I put it. Once Team State in the region. So, we'll go over the brackets. And I need to put them up there.
What's my thoughts on the new IHSA transfer rule? I think that kids should be able to go wherever they want to go and compete where they want to compete.
Did that become official, or is that?
Oh, no, that's what I heard too. Obviously, my kid had to lose half a year because we had an AD that thought that transferring in conference even is, the most important thing in the world to them. I think that if someone doesn't want to be part of your program and they want to go be somewhere else, cool, it's less stress on you, right?
Yeah.
I hate do it for your community. Like, what commitment do I have with community? Built a house here? Like I pay the taxes.
So the last update was from the Indy Star set. I can't get access to the article because I haven't paid for it, but they do say that it is. It sounds like they're going to have a one time free transfer. So,
which sounds like if someone leaves your program, that's opportunity for the next person up, right?
Yeah,
You got to use the airplane mode rule, man.
Yeah.
You don't have to steal articles. Click on and hit airplane mode. It can't kick you out.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting if it goes through. I'm not against it. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think a one time, it'll create a lot less havoc on their end. So, but who knows what'll happen? And obviously, you still can't. I'm guessing you still can't recruit kids. I can't go and say, "Hey, try to come to my school." There's still going to be. I think there's still going to be rules. So, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I haven't seen the rule written. I haven't seen how they're going to explain it. But I'm sure there's going to be some rules on there.
I don't think the transferring community cares about the academics either.
Yeah.
Like if people that say that, I think like the school you're transferring from also doesn't care about your academics. They told my daughter she could play any sport that she wanted to except for softball.
Yeah,
she wants to play basketball. She's eligible to play basketball. Anything else, just not softball.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the actual rule they come out as and what it states and go from there because I don't know what I'm definitely for a little less restrictions on that because it can get hairy. It seems almost sometimes they just pick out of a hat. They have 100 transfers. They're gonna pick 2 or 3 to kind of poke and prod and see if they can find some flaw in it. And it's not it. We see transfers all the time, and we know enough about the kids that are transferring to know whether they're transferring to that school. Wow, they went from a school that's never won a sectional championship to one that's won 10 in a row.
Oh yeah.
Wonder why.
Yeah, I think I'm a pretty LinkedIn person to the transfer community, and I think the school that we transferred from, I'm not going to say any names, but you can find my address. It's online. Just received about 6 transfers this year.
Yeah.
Not one of them was held. Yeah. That's a weird coincidence, right?
Yes, exactly.
I wonder if all 6 of those kids actually live in our district.
Yeah, so that's one of those things that it's such a weird. It's the way it is right now is really. It adds a lot of human hands that shouldn't be in there to be like, well, is this one legit? Why is this one legit and the other one we're gonna poke and prod and try to make it not legit? So I don't know. So
yeah, for people that are smarter than us, right?
Yes. So
it's not just. I think there's a lot of it. So it's me and James Harder Road, bro.
Yeah. So Team State. Let's see. Let me bring up see if I can throw a bracket up here. It doesn't always look the best.
Honestly, like that we're in here. Like, do you feel like if New Prairie, we're about to talk about this. What if New Prairie ran James Harder Road out this weekend? What's the punishment for that? Is the IHSWCA going to take away their title? They have to vacate those 4 wins.
Yes, because that would be on a. I mean, I don't know if they're going to come confiscate the trophy.
Well, it would be the Coaches Association trophy. I don't think they're taking it from. They're not taking it from a Super Duel, right?
Yeah.
They're taking the official wins away, but they're not taking like that. So, like, if they said, "Hey, we're going to run them out there this weekend," you guys can tell on us like what's going to happen. The IHSA said you didn't win those, but they obviously did.
Yeah, I have no clue what they would do. Let's see. Is that going to look better? Trying to figure out what the best way to do this is.
I can read it better like that.
Okay.
You can cover up my face.
Your beautiful face, though.
It's okay.
I should have been better prepared. There we go. Okay, so 1A. We'll start 1A, 2A. We'll go reverse order. Oh, I almost closed that window. Adams Central, number 1 seed. Switzerland County, Northfield. There should be some good matchups there, I think. Yeah. And in the middleweights there for all those teams.
Both those are vote-in teams too, right? Northfield and Switzerland County.
Yes. So battle of the vote-in teams.
I know it was. I was in that vote. I don't know why I said was it.
So you have, let's see, Switzerland. I'm looking at the. So 144 has Rose and okay, I guess Gall and Short Gin I know are in there at 150. So you could see some bumping around.
I hope that match happens. We had a very interesting email about that this week.
Yes. So
defend your tweet, right?
Yeah. So that should be a pretty solid quarter bracket. You got Tell City.
Thanks, Eric. He said it makes him feel. Eric prefers when you cover up my face because it makes him feel inferior.
So actually, I could probably put it like that. Okay, so then the next quarter bracket, Tell City. Dude, why do we keep putting Tell City down as a 4 seed, 3 or 4 seed? You know they're going to be in the. They're going to. That's punishing Adams Central, I think.
Man, I know we kind of said it before. I don't know if Chase Stevens is going to wrestle. I know that he got some injury, and he didn't wrestle tonight. But if he's out, that's a huge blow for those guys. Especially in 1A, you're looking for teams that are going to have – we're just going to slow it all over, huh?
Yeah. Now I'm putting it there so I can see the comments. So
you know, and I'm not saying like that like they can't win, but, man, that's a very interesting – that's – give or take. I don't know who their backup is, and I know they lost another kid early on that was a guy that could have impacted their lineup, but for the most part, that could be like an 8-point swing or 7-point swing in a lot of matches for them.
Yeah, they'll have the winner of Alexandria and South Adams. South Adams has some solid kids on their team, so
Alexandria Monroe does too. Ezra Fry.
Man, he seems like he's been around for about 15 years.
I know.
So the bottom half of the bracket, North Miami, number 3 seed. They'll get the winner of Rochester and Milan.
Is this really Coach Joe's last year at Tell City?
Oh, I know he retired for a couple years and then came back. So he's a good guy, and obviously Tell City puts Tell City on the map. So
that's true, Hall of Famer.
Yep, he should be a Hall of Famer if he's not already in it. So
I think he's got in the Hall of Fame. I think the year I went, you were invited.
So North Miami, Rochester, Milan. Rochester has a few forfeits in their lineup. If they can find some guys, get them down a little bit in weight, I think that could be some interesting matches there. Milan and should make all these up there, but could have a Baylor Horn possible match.
Bump Baylor to 32. That'd be exciting.
Yeah. Well, that's his daughter, so she should know, I think.
I couldn't tell you. I didn't know the last name.
So
that's wild. Congratulations to him. We all want to retire at some point, right?
Yep. Brant Beck, Caleb Wilburn, possible matchup there. So that should be a good duel there. And then obviously
I think North Miami's pretty good.
Yeah. So North Miami has a real solid team, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing them wrestle. And then the bottom half, you got some representation, Rensselaer Central, Rossville.
That's kind of like borderline. I don't know if that's really region for us, but we'll claim it.
East Chicago.
They got some. Lars Hughes was there. He's a region guy last year. He's not there anymore. His sister's married to the coach, so I guess we'll take some region love over there.
Yes. So that should be East Side. Rossville should be a good one. I think East Side has some. I think they're getting a couple guys back. They could be. They've had some good results, but they've kind of been up and down. Could see a Jacob Weaver Lincoln Carter match. That'd be a good one. And so yeah, that should be pretty good quarter bracket there. 1A is 1,000%. What is going on? Matchups, and if you have some movable parts, and if you can maybe knock off a stud or two on that other team, and you have solid kids up and down the lineup. So it should be kind of fun. I think Adams Central has been kind of surprising for me. I saw their roster early on, and I was like, ooh, that looks kind of thin, and they've been doing a real good job. So they look like they might be the most solid team top to bottom.
Yeah, they're deep. I think they're a team that had a pretty deep football run. So I know they came out to Andrean and beat the brakes off the 59ers on our home field. I was at my daughter's school play, so I didn't watch it. I just heard a lot of sad fans leaving. Um, but I'm sure they're starting to get into their actual weights. That first round match with Switzerland County be good because Switzerland County has a lot of good individuals that are in there. So I think in 1A it can come down to like who can really like win the most matches. Like you got Rossville's going to have the Weavers and a couple other guys, so that would be tough. But top to bottom, I mean, you're looking at possibly Adam Central, who's had a lot of success in the 1A, and Tell City, who's obviously had a lot of success in the 1A.
Yeah, it's about matchups, and it's one of the things we were talking about with like Switzerland County, and even a couple other teams. Like they have 3, 4, 5 guys that are pretty much going to win 99% of their matches against 1A level kids, and that's huge. That means you don't have to find 2 wins. You have to find 2 wins, and or if you could be like Carroll in 2017, you just need to find one more win.
There's a lot of highly ranked wrestlers in here too. I mean, unfortunately, I think Rochester's down a handful of guys that they had last year coming in. Some of these teams I've seen, like in some of the individual stuff, have some forfeit, so it's tough. Or you don't know if they're like holding guys out or what, like where they're bringing 7 or 8 guys, 10 guys. If you're giving a 4 forfeits, you got to be really good.
Yeah. So
Halifax City, let's go. I mean, Tell City's got like some hammers too. Like I said, if Stevens can go, that's a huge one. You got the Terry brothers. You got the 215 Ethan. He's pretty good. Yeah, he's had some huge wins. Beat Jed Goldsberry.
That they close out real well, and that's huge in those matches. I think any of the classes, if you close out well with your upper weights, it gives you a significant advantage because it's hard to find good upper weights all the time.
Those are big, strong kids that get bonus points.
Yeah, and you get a lot of pins up there. So 2A, kind of a surprising number 1 seed as far as the last iteration of the rankings. They were ranked 4th, and now they're basically ranked 1st. Garrett, and they'll have the winner of Hanover Central, some region love, and Bishop.
Legit region right there, Cedar Lake, boy.
So, man, you got your some region love and your favorite Indianapolis area coaches.
My favorite Tic Tac star from Indianapolis, my boys.
So that should be a good match. I know Bishop Chittard, they were pretty solid last year. They're not as good as they were last year, but they're still pretty good team. Hanover Central I think they have a kind of a sneaky good team. So that
solid.
Should be a good first.
They're a solid team.
That should be a good first round matchup. And then obviously they're gonna have a tough Garrett. They're both either whoever wins that's gonna have a tough Garrett team who's solid top to bottom, and had a real good Al Smith.
Yeah, Hanover's real. Obviously, Bishop Chittard is real solid in the middle. They're really good. Jack Davis and Bustamante and those guys. Hanover Central's solid top to bottom. I think they're kind of young. They have some good guys coming in too. Coach Bradbury does a great job, but man, Garrett looks really good at Al Smith. Their guys just scrapped. You took a guy that came out of the Maryville semi-state, went out there, he's teaching you guys how to scrap and making guys fight. Man, I thought I was watching an old Portage team over there. Nice. I said I didn't know they made them that tough out there in Waterloo.
That's Garrett, not Waterloo.
Garrett.
G-Town.
Sorry. My geography out there is not as good. Walter Hagedorn's really good for Tell City too. Like I said, they got probably about 6 guys that are going to win a lot of those matches. I didn't want to assume that they posted. He's really good.
Yeah. Next quarter bracket, Mount Vernon Posey, Crawfordsville, and they will get the winner there will go against Belmont. Belmont is taking a couple losses. They're solid top to bottom. One of the things I've seen with them, they don't have a lot of depth, so they can't move guys. So if you match up well with them, they really can't do too much, and that's going to be a tough one against some of the other teams where I think Garrett has some movable parts. I think they can weigh some guys in at the same weights and try to find a better matchups for the team and try to get, try to either trade wins or try to maximize points, things like that.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought Belmont looked pretty solid. This is like their event, right? I feel like they come out to and show off for the team state. They're big. I think they're big on the duels. They're big on. This is like their event of the year. So Mount Vernon Posey and Crawfordsville were two vote-in teams. I'm not as familiar. I know Crawfordsville had two guys that I had on the watch list, and Landon Vaught and Height. So like 144, 175. And then Mount Vernon Posey's had some guys in there too, like Jaden Stillwagner. So that could be in that 144 area. That could be a really interesting first round match. Brownsburg's, or not Brownsburg, but Belmont's really tough. You got, Palacios, you have Henry Farrow, Gavin Davis. I was surprised to see Gavin Davis injury withdrawal from Al Smith. It's kind of, I was going to see how well he does with some of the other guys. I think he's had some injuries the last couple of years there.
Yeah. So that should be pretty good quarter bracket there. And so we will move that down a little bit. In the bottom half of the bracket, Delta, number 3 seed, versus the winner of Yorktown and Heritage Hills. Heritage Hills is kind of sneaky good. They close out really well.
Really well.
And then Delta losing a kid that's a state title contender is not easy for any team at any level. But at the 2A level, you're really not going to be able to fill in. You're not going to be able to bring in a regional or semi-state level kid, most likely. So that's a 9 to 12 point swing for them right there in the match.
Man, tough for Gavin Davis to say he was sick. He had to go to the hospital after Al Smith. I think Joe Maverick also for Westfield had to leave. He withdrew for being sick also.
Yeah.
And up going around.
Yeah. Kind of, I guess, glad it was a sickness and not an injury.
Yeah.
I don't want to say either are good, but at least.
Well, sickness you can recover from. Injuries takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's feeling better.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah. Heritage Hills is sneaky good. I think they're solid across the board. They've done a really good job. They have a pretty good guy that they can't get in the lineup right now, just because they're kind of deep up top. Obviously, they have a state medalist and a freshman sophomore champ up there. Yorktown's always solid. Delta, it's tough when you lose Boyd. So I know they're still stacked. Wheat Wicker's really good. Jackson, K. Jackson, Bollinger. Cape Stebbins was down to 75. Mosier. So you're gonna have 5 or 6 wins, but where are those guys gonna hit? I mean, you'd want Boyd in there to wrestle like a Birkenshire from at 26. That's probably a matchup where Boyd would be heavily favored, but now it kind of sways the other way.
Yeah, so that should be kind of interesting. Kind of might be a tale of two halves, where I think Heritage Hills is better in the upper weights, more in the upper weights, and then Delta's good in the lower weights. Obviously, Delta has Stebbins at 190, but generally they're pretty good.
175, I heard he weighed in at.
Ooh, interesting. So
it'd be interesting to see if I know they have Hart. He's kind of in between. I know he wrestled off a heavyweight. If they can get him to 215 and Jet to 190, then they're going to close really well.
Yeah, that'd be a real good way to close. And that's one thing we get to see with Team State is sometimes there's some. This is about the last time you're going to maybe see some guys maybe make a cut down, and you're hearing a lot of guys dropping weights. A handful of guys might be weighing in and stuff, so there's a lot of gamesmanship being played, and it's kind of fun to not be involved in that and see the aftermath and kind of play armchair quarterback. Or what do you do if you see this or that?
Got to wade through some of that too. Some of those rumors.
Yeah. So
that's why the pre-show took so long.
So the bottom quarter bracket got Purdue Polytech, the Techies, and they have Owen Valley first round, and the winner gets New Prairie, another team that had a real good Al Smith. So that should be interesting there. Purdue Polytech's kind of sneaky good. I really don't know too much about Owen Valley other than they have a few good guys. They have Lucas McBee, Dylan Hale, Austin Boldinghouse, and Emery Jackson. But I think probably going to be good story. They're kind of they're an IPS school, which is been having success, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Their first time in, I think that was they had that big win over Chittard. I think that kind of solidified them to get in. Solid top to bottom. I think they have about 8 guys that are kind of on the watch list or right in that mix. New Prairie is really good. And I think New Prairie would be able to compete in a lot of classes. Obviously, a lot of high-end guys. But even some of their mid-level guys, which are semi-state level guys, 6, 13, 32, are pretty solid, where those guys are going to win a lot of matches too. They're going to be in a lot of those matches, but then you're going to have Ivor, Lewis, Staples. Staples new number 1 at 157. Congratulations to him. 75. Whiteneck looked really good at Al Smith. He's not as big as his brother. His brother was there. He's pretty big.
He's a run of the litter.
Yeah, the run of the litter, because his dad's big too. And then you got Kendricks at 190. So you're gonna have some guys close out too, which are gonna be pretty good. They're gonna be tough to beat because they got some guys that get bonus too. Now, are those guys gonna get tech falls or are they gonna get sticks? I think they get a lot of tech falls.
Yeah, but the focus will change a little bit. Here it's like, hey, we gotta look for the pin now. This isn't working for this or working for a tech fall. So should be.
And my opinion, I think you should run Hardo Road out and if the IHSA makes a coach sit. Make Flieger sit out a duel and then vacate those 1, 2, 3 wins and then keep your trophy for next year.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting. What would happen because technically you would vacate those wins, and so is JD Minch gonna drive up to
New Carlisle?
New Carlisle and confiscate the trophy and the banner? And give it to whoever they beat in the finals.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it becomes an ethics thing, and I think those guys, I think Bobby and Dan are we're at the highest point of that. They're not going to be guys that are going to do anything that's I think it's their school that actually held his eligibility, from my understanding. It wasn't even DeKalb.
That's interesting. So,
what I heard, that could be a rumor, but that's from pretty good authority.
Wrong picture. 3A. Let's make my 3A. This one gets kind of fun. I guess last thing I'd say about 2A. I think 2A is pretty wide open this year, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I think there's some teams. I think some good storylines of Garrett Russell's New Prairie. That's where Kraus went to school, so. That's going to be...
I believe Bobby coached him, right?
I don't know if he did. Bobby wasn't the head coach then.
So maybe I could be wrong.
But I know they know each other well and they talk a lot, so could be very interesting there. 3A, number 1 seed, Lowell. Vote in. Would not have made it the old way. They get the winner of Martinsville and Hobart.
A little bit of a rivalry there, conference rivalry with Hobart.
That'd be a good quarterfinal match. So I think they had already wrestled 2 this year. So unfortunately, they may wrestle again. Lowell's
what?
Yeah, I said Lowell's pretty solid, and they also had a real good Al Smith, and I think that kind of bumped them up to where they were.
Yeah, Hobart's always solid. They're always going to come and scrap. Bobby helped coach. So they that'd be a good one right off the bat. I think Martinsville and Hobart, I don't know how often they get to see each other. I mean, I guess there's a website for that. We can find out how many times Martinsville and Hobart has ever wrestled in the past. But that Hobart Lowell match was under the lights at Hobart. It was pretty exciting. Lowell ended up pulling it away on that one. And Lowell's one of those teams that got voted in, but you understand, they added a number 1 ranked at 138. They added a top 5 guy at 13. He's pretty good. Yeah. We got to see him at Al Smith. He's the real deal, man. He's gonna win a lot of the matches. I was hoping them and Ron Cowley were on the same side so we can possibly see a Shutley and Verduzco match.
Yep.
I mean, they have to make it to the finals. They're 1-2, but that's selfish with me. That's what I look for. But Lowell's tough, man.
Yeah.
Undefeated at 215, champ of Al Smith. Once beaten freshman at heavyweight. 132's had some big wins. Beat Matthew Maldonado, Seth Albin. They have some movable pieces down low where they can move Verduzco around a little bit, and that's what they did against Hobart. So I don't know if that's going to be one of the things that they win the flip. They moved Verduzco up to 20, and he checked him out of there, and the 13 got a win against Hobart. So, and then I think they moved Stanley around pretty well too.
Yeah, and this is where having a few movable parts like that can also make a huge difference.
Well,
because the teams are more solid and they're gonna have better backups too.
And I think they're getting Dieter Gersbeck, who's been in the rankings. I know he withdrew from Al Smith. They're saying he's gonna be back. That's another guy that they didn't have when they wrestled Hobart last time. He's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good pickup there. The next quarter bracket is a lot of Southern flavor. Floyd Central versus Terre Haute South, and the winner gets the host, Franklin. So that should be a good quarter bracket there. Got some good ranking stuff for Dustin.
Yeah, I think Terre Haute South has done a really good job of building that program, and that's another team just solid across the board, right? Yeah. There's not a lot of holes in there. I'm sure. I think they took some loss at Mooresville, but they competed there right in the mix. Floyd's interesting because they have guys in and out of the lineup that I don't know when they're going to be back, or if they're going to be back, right?
Yeah.
Like one of their guys, they said isn't going to be back, but if he shows up on Saturday, that's honestly he's a pinner, so that's probably a 12-point swing, maybe.
Yeah. And Terre Haute South last year. Then they ran it to the finals as they were the number 1 seed. Then a couple years ago, I thought they upset the number 1 seed in the first round. Yeah, they beat Roncalli last year, and then the first round, or 2 years ago in 2023, they beat them in the first round. They're the 8th seed. So
just a solid squad, man. I think top to bottom, their guys are really good. And then you got some guys in there that do really well. Sean Murphy, Coy Bender. They're good. Franklin's good. Lowell and Franklin was a good match at the Trikoff. Lowell was able to move some guys around again, get some big wins. So I'm sure Lowell's probably looking back at that tape and trying to get in the finals. And they got put in a pretty good spot there if they advance past Hobart and Franklin advanced past those guys.
So bottom half of the bracket. This whole bracket's gonna be fun to watch.
This half side is hard. This is a good half side.
Yeah. Columbus East, they get the winner of Greenfield Central, Bloomington South. Columbus East and Bloomington South both were pretty had a lot of placers and had good Al Smith tournaments. And then obviously, if you look past Greenfield Central, they're gonna kick your butt. So you can't always look. They're not afraid to seek good competition.
That's a really hard quarter bracket. Greenfield Central is really tough, top to bottom. Coach Holden gets those guys going. There's not a lot of holes there. Maybe they don't have a bunch of. I don't want to. In the least negative way I can say this, they don't have a bunch of stars that are maybe a number 1 ranked guy, but they have a lot of guys on the watch list, and they have a lot of guys right knocking on the door of the rankings. They're a very solid team. Bloomington South obviously has some more higher ranked guys: Cooksey, Rowdy Bush. Cameron Meyer, and they're going to go out there and they get big points.
Yeah.
Cameron Meyer's going to get big points. Rowdy Bush is going to get big points. Cooks is going to get big points. And even the guys in between those guys, Harden and Amron Pratt, those guys get big points too. We get to see them at the Al Smith.
Yeah, so Jackson Jean down low.
Yeah, Jackson Jean gets big points.
Yeah. So you just named 7 pretty solid guys that are going to be hard to beat.
I don't know, Bloomington South, I don't know how, you train the area. I was telling you, how do you train the area between your calf and your ankle? I feel like those dudes always have, their, legs look big from their, knee to their foot. It's weird. Whoever's doing the training for those guys always look like they're in pretty good shape. I mean, obviously, Rowdy Bush is out there lifting a bunch of weights and pinning people.
Yeah. That's going to be a fun quarter bracket, and you can't overlook anybody. Columbus East.
Yeah.
Hard nose. I mean, it's like the three most hard nosed teams in 3A. Just put them in the quarter bracket. Let's have some fun.
That's crazy, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that it's seated wrong, but that's a hard quarter bracket. Columbus East always really good. Obviously, Coach Cooper does an amazing job. He's up there with the coaches that get their guys to improve the most from freshman to senior year. Like, it's always amazing to see how the growth of the Columbus East guys, and they're solid top to bottom.
Yeah, they're gonna be in your face for 6 minutes, and if it goes longer than 6 minutes, it's gonna be however long that match is, and that's.
And you got Gage Rutan with his nice mullet, man. That thing, they're probably giving like a little mullet pat before he goes out. That thing's glorious.
Yes. I think Coach Cooper needs to grow a mullet like that.
The skullet? He's gonna get a skullet? I haven't seen Greenfield Central, but man, I don't remember Bloomington South having any of those good mullets like Rutan. No one had a good mullet like Rutan. He got that like legit like 1980s. I think he pulled up there in a Camaro.
Nice. So the bottom quarter bracket, you got New Haven, New Palestine, and then Roncalli and New Haven, a 7 seed. That was, I mean, that was an interesting. I thought New Haven would be a little bit higher, but 3A is just such a tough top to bottom. It's hard to put teams in slots, and that's a tough spot for Roncalli. It's a tough spot for New Haven, and I'm kind of looking forward to that quarter bracket. Actually, I'm looking. 3A is going to be the most wide open and kind of more fun to watch, just because you have no clue what's going to happen.
Yeah, New Pal. I mean, losing Hornsby hurts them obviously, and I know Vandy Griff hasn't been in the lineup a little bit lately, and I mean they're still solid. They still have Doss. They still have. I'm trying to think. Obviously, we have a lot of names going through. But I know that they've had some guys out. But I mean, Gunnar Butts, I'm thinking of. So they have some horses, but yeah, New Haven's pretty good. I know their guys are solid, but when I seen their records at North Montgomery, I was really surprised. Obviously, you have Ocampo and Easton are both number ones. Bakari Cooper took his first loss this weekend. He's pretty good. Sean Harris, I believe, is undefeated.
Yeah.
Who else? Their 120s pretty good also. Timmy Roca, I believe, was undefeated. Malachi Thuner is pretty good. They're going to be a tough team to wrestle. I mean, that's 5 guys, 6, wrestlers. I don't know if to say guys, 6 or 7 wrestlers that have single-digit losses between the group of them.
Yeah, you could have a Cooper versus Blake Doss match, Roca, Wesley Harbert,
Malachi Thuner and Gunnar Butt.
Gunnar Butt. And 144, you got Blake Doss. And I think they had someone that they've switched some guys up a little bit. 285, William Glessing and Charles McGrant. So that should be some good matches there against New Pal, and obviously throw against Roncalli, and there's some other good matches there. So
I wouldn't be shocked to see, and I'm not unless we're making predictions. I wouldn't be shocked to see New Haven come out of that quarter bracket, but Roncalli is the 2 seed, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Roncalli and the seeds hold up because Dane does a great job.
Yeah, and it's always we got 2 profiles with this one guy. It's always interesting to see how the seeds hold up and see if things hold, how things hold, and especially because it's trying to seed dual teams is a little bit harder than individuals, to say the least.
Yeah, so, I mean, you take a lot more into consideration, and like the swings are bigger.
Ready to talk about 3A, 4A?
Yeah.
Let's see, 4A. Maybe
you want to start 4 to 1? You want to start in reverse?
Yeah, we'll start.
Only 8 teams.
Yeah. So we'll start with the middle of the bracket.
And I don't know, like the seeds are like not that they're crazy. I don't think it's a crazy seeding, but I know that they're trying to like, not that they did it on purpose, but I was happy that some of the teams that haven't seen each other were able to kind of hit. I'd hate to see Mater Day Avon 3. I know those guys love going to Evansville, and I know Coach Johns is from Evansville, so it's a good time to go see his family, I guess.
Yeah.
So they like to make that trip down there, but I'm glad we don't have to see Evansville, Mater Day, and Avon for the third time in 4 weeks.
Yes. So that should be some good matches there. The 4-5 Mater Day Portage, good little rivalry there. Portage kind of sneaky good. They're not gonna overpower you very in anywhere really, but they're gonna be hard to beat in 14 matches.
I think they match up really well with Mater Day. Honestly, I think that I want to see Portage, Mater Day, or Portage and Avon. I think Portage matched up with Mater Day better than they match up with Avon. Portage, like, they didn't have their 6 at Al Smith. I'm pretty sure he'd have been a placer. He's had some really good wins. Their backup was a blood round guy. 13 was a blood round guy. He's really good. Acuna's his first time down. Lincoln Underwood's really good. Medalist. 26 is a state qualifier. 32 was a ticket rounder for Chesterton. He came back to there. 38 was a ticket rounder. 44 is a freshman. 57 is a semifinalist at the Al Smith. And they got a 215 and heavy that are pretty good. Mater Day is obviously good at 26. Got a state runner-up. 32, they have state qualifier. 38, they have a state runner-up. I mean, that's always pretty good. 20, they're good. 13 had a huge win against Avon in the duel. I think that kind of swung it. And they're just solid. It's hard to beat Mater Day. Like I'm not trying to sound like a Mater Day fanboy, but those guys know how to like keep matches close and save bonus points, and they know how to like win matches.
Yeah.
Something about the yellow, the gold and white and red, or crimson. What is it? Crimson and gold.
Yeah, should be some good matchups. Lincoln Underwood, David Allstat, Cameron Woods, Ty Henderson, Aiden Campbell, Caleb Schaefer. So those should be some good ones. How many Bowmans do they have on their team? We have a Cam and a Camden Bowman.
I believe that's the same person.
Yeah, we need to fix those profiles there. So that's a pretty good one there. And then we have Center Grove Avon.
A little Mooresville regional. Is that the same sectional too? Mooresville regional rivalry.
They Avon has their own sectional, and then Center Grove's in the Mooresville sectional.
So a little preview for the regional.
Yeah, so that should be a good one. I'm pulling up the matchup comparison.
Well, you're talking Daniel Brown, Case Bridge, Justice Thrasher. 20, you have Gels and Waste Malone. The Squirrel Max, Rabbit Max out, hunting champion of the world.
so yeah.
Don Brown and Rio. Yeah, so the Brown boys are going to have a tough match. Both of them have tough matches.
Yeah. Brown and Bridge, Thresher, Malone, Gels, man.
Goss and Zaransky. 38, little Malone, little bigger Malone.
Younger
Malone. And Chef.
Breedlove and Syra, and unfortunately Lucas Bowe is not at Avon last I knew, even though he shows up on my list.
Man, what if he came back though? Another one. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, that's probably a harder one to justify because he's not in your school, and you'd have to tell him about the snowstorm, and you have to come back from Florida for it. But I don't know how good Avon is up top. I know Grant Stewart's had some pretty notable matches, and I know that's kind of where after 75. I don't know if they had. They're 190 placed at Al Smith, right?
Yes.
So Center Grove's really good, but that'll be a good first round match. I think 4-5 and 3-6 are going to be really good, which it should be, right?
Yeah, should be some good matches. And then Crown Point Cathedral, saw a few of those matches. Crown Point's pretty good, top to bottom.
That's gonna be tough. I think Cathedral was hoping not to wrestle Center Grove since they already wrestled them. I didn't know if they were going to flip, because I don't know if Cathedral's seen Brownsburg, have they?
No, they have not.
I thought maybe it'd be Cathedral and Brownsburg and Crown Point and Homestead. But you got Tate St. Laurent and Sam Westfall. That was a really good match in the third and fourth place match at Al Smith. Reyes and Strayer, I think they wrestled there also. Bismeyer and Lewis, they did not wrestle, I don't believe. Gendris and Bayless for Indianapolis Cathedral. I think on the mic I said Mount Vernon. At least Randall Hayes told me I did, which I don't doubt. You get a rematch of Hardin and Salas, which was a really good finals match.
Yeah, that should be some really good. That's going to be some good matches there, individual matches, and Cathedral wants to get those good matches, so they aren't going to. They aren't going to want to get away from those matches. That's why they're there. So that should be a good match there. And then we have Andy's team, the Homestead Spartans, and the host Brownsburg. That should be a very interesting match.
Yeah, there's some matches that I am excited to see in there. I mean, Homestead's coming off a huge win at the Defiance Border Wars. Brownsburg went over to Illinois, so both those teams won out of state. Homestead gets the late ad. I'm excited to see Caleb Evans, Max Forrester. I'm excited to see. I think Homestead's pretty solid top to bottom. Like, we kind of talked about that before. There's not a lot of holes in their lineup. They're good at 6 with Ray Pohl. They're good with Drew Heister at 13. Now, are they Trayvon Ducking and Case Belgood, who are the semifinals of the Ironman? I don't know where the Ironman and the Defiance Border Wars stack up to each other, but it's a little tougher. But I mean, those guys are going to scrap. Yeah, they're both in Ohio. You're not wrong there.
Both in random places in Ohio.
If Hockaday wrestles, we could have a top 5 matchup there with Hockaday and Hunter Douglas, or I guess Hunter Douglas is 6 now. The guy that did the rankings is terrible. But if Jake wrestles that one, that'd be a good match. If not, then Hunter Douglas probably wrestle Cash Mays or another guy named Hockaday.
Yeah. Neither guys are slouches, so yeah, that's going to be a real good one there. I would not be, that's going to be a fun one to see how that plays out, and obviously they want to go there, and that should be some good matches. And Mike just left because he's coughing, probably getting some water. So semifinals are going to be pretty interesting. You got Brownsburg versus the modern day Portage winner. Could be a lot of good matches there. Obviously, who do you see like some of the matchups possibly in the semis there? If the seats hold.
If the seats hold. I mean, 38, Braylon Reynolds and Isaiah Schaefer, obviously that'd be a really fun match. I think Braylon Reynolds is wrestling as good as anyone in the state at 32 or 38. He looked phenomenal at Carnahan. I mean, just kind of ran into a buzzsaw. I mean, he attacked Tylen Thrine. That doesn't happen very much to him, I'm sure, in his life. But, I mean, that's obviously one I'd be looking forward to. 32, if Jake wrestles, and Caleb Schaefer. 26, Haynes and Henderson. I mean, Henderson would probably be the heavy favorite there. Like I said, but modern day shows up in scraps. Like it's hard to say, well, like this guy, like Caden Thacker at 190 and Gunnar Henry. Modern day finds a way.
Yeah.
That obviously we looked at the the former results, and these are teams that have been in the mix. Portage and Brownsburg. I mean, Trayvon Ducking and Lucas Manning, Little Acuna and Bell. Bell's really good. Dickman and Lincoln Underwood, a tough junior and a tough freshman. So I mean, a lot of interesting matchups with those teams, especially down low. I mean, Brownsburg is just really tough, man. They're top. They're really top to bottom. They had most of their team wrestling day 2 of, or half their team wrestling day 2 at the Ironman. There's not a lot of teams that have that.
Yeah.
Especially a public school.
Yeah. So that's crazy. That should be, some good matches there. And then obviously Center Grove, Crown Point. Saw quite a few of those matches at the Al Smith. And that's going to be, do I have this Center Grove, Crown Point? We already have one. So that could be, we have some rematches possibly there. You got Westfall, Daniel Brown. They didn't hit up, or no?
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
Daniel Brown pinned him, right?
So
yeah.
Strayer Thrasher.
Did Strayer win that?
Yep, 4-1. So Gavin Lewis and Royce Malone, they did not hit up.
In the finals, 3-1?
Oh, yes, they did.
3-2?
So I guess that didn't get recorded. So Gendress.
26, they hit the semis. Gendress, was it a major? Or? I think it was as close
9-3. So Hawkins Goss, though he did not wrestle.
They did not.
They both lost to Bowie.
Donald Bowie, shout out, man. Represent the east side of Indianapolis.
Yeah. Sessa and Marcus Malone, they did not hit up. Haney and Hornsby, they did not hit up. But, some good matches early on. Breedlove was in the finals. Baca or Newell. He did beat Baca. Breedlove did beat Baca. Ben Clark, Silas Stitz. Or Van Tichel, whoever ends up down there. You got Van Tichel and Vanderloo Garten. Van Tichel won 7-5. So Weems and Calvin Stewart. Salas Jones. Then Reading Flores. And then Samborski. So, yeah, that's going to be some good matches there.
Yeah, obviously you got to try to throw out an individual tournament to, like, the duel. Some of those bonus points might not be bonus points. There's got to be try to saving points. And you don't know how they're going to be officiated or whether they're, letting guys kind of back up. And, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but, there's going to be guys' jobs that can be saved to points, and there's going to be guys' jobs that get points. So,
yeah,
I guess
that's the biggest thing that you see in those types of matches that you're going to see the teams that have those kids that hey, my job is to get the bonus points or save the bonus points, and that's huge for those guys, and could be it's going to be key in a lot of those duels. And Mishawaka or Center Grove always wrestles well there, and if they have their full lineup and they're wrestling well, they can maybe reverse a couple of those and end up getting maybe pulling out a couple upsets and seeing how things go.
I just did some quick math, which is probably wrong. I think it'd be like 33-30. I won't say who wins.
I think it'll be a lot closer than, obviously neither team can look past that and look at, how are we going to match up with Brownsburg? How are we going to finagle our lineup against Brownsburg? Because if you do, you have someone else there, right, in the middle to set you off your track there. So any other, and then obviously you have Crown Point.
Man. I haven't even really looked at all the matchups on that, but I'm trying to see which one would be a more fun duel. We see Crown Point Brownsburg all the time.
Yeah.
Like that's been the last 3 years. Let's see something else, right?
Yeah.
No. Center Grove. You got Ducking, Westfall, and Brown, all ranked guys.
Let's see. I have Brownsburg versus Avon. Let's see. Oops. Has anyone made a comparison before I make it? It's interesting. People have someone's been making some dual comparisons, which is fun. Brownsburg versus Center Grove. Brownsburg, Center Grove. So the Brownsburg and Crown Point, obviously we've seen some of these matches. Ducking, Westfall, Case Bell, Colin Strayer, Dickman Lewis, that'd be a good one.
Well, I mean, they're always close. I don't know if they're. I mean, I know Sarah was in here earlier. I'm sure she'll tell us different. They're always close matches, but like they're not. Like, there's never been a time I felt like, oh man, like Dickman's gonna lose this one. I don't know. He doesn't lose a lot.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see some of the moves. I know we're talking about like that, but I know Crown Point has some movable parts. I don't know how much Brownsburg has movable parts, but like if it's at, like we talked about Mendez and Seltzer and Lemley, like I would like if it's out of reach or it's not coming down to it. I'd like to see Dickman and Gendris 1-1.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Or Gentris and Hockaday 1-1.
Yeah.
If Hockaday and those guys wrestle.
So you have Haynes or Hockaday versus Gendris. Brian Hockaday, that is. Jake Hockaday, Landon Hawkins, possible. That could be, 1-4. Reynolds, Sessa, Gibbs, and Haney. Or Haney's at 44, right?
Yeah, Haney's at 44.
Okay, and then Reynolds versus Newell or Baca. Newell or Baca. Could be a good match.
Breedlove.
Mason Day, Ben Clark, possibly somebody else.
Possibly.
So, and Mason Day and Van Tichel, obviously that's maybe the person we're talking about.
You would say possibly at 44 somebody else too.
Yeah. So.
Allegedly.
The Mason Day Van Tichel matches last year were some of the best matches ever.
Yeah.
They got after it and just a lot of fun in those matches. You didn't really, as a fan, they had some great matches. 65-75, or actually, you have Calvin Stewart from Crown Point, and that could be where some points are made up by both teams. So that's one of those things that people don't. They don't have anyone ranked. I guess Calvin's ranked 7th in the semi-state.
Is he in the state now?
Not the latest one that I have.
Okay, maybe he's right outside. He wrestled Emilio Torado really good in the duel, and I think Emilio Torado ended up pinning him at Al Smith.
Yeah, it was. He got pinned both times by him.
Yeah, the other one he was up 9-2.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's outside.
Yeah, so definitely a wrestler that can get some wins there. So then you have a Gunnar Henry Caesar Salas match. That could be Henry teched him at IPO. I'm gonna probably say that doesn't happen again, but you never know.
Gunner's obviously really good. He's capping off an amazing career. Caesar's gotten a lot better this year.
Yeah.
Like every time I see him, I feel like he's like gotten better. Like he looked better at not Carnahan, but Iron Man. I mean, he drills the number 1 seed out the bat. That's unfortunate. Russell's back to day 2 as a freshman at 250 or 190, and then I thought he wrestled really well at Carnahan, and some of the results don't look it. I know he tossed the Springboro kid to his back. I thought he was going to end up pinning him. And then the Maris kid was kind of like sneaky good. He almost beat the Springboro kid also. And then I thought he looked really good at Al Smith. So I think he's adjusting to the weight. But, I mean, Gunner's a different animal, too.
Yeah, so that should be a good one. And then 215 Brewer Reading, then 220 Forrester Simborski, but there could be some shifting there. Some weights are listed on Track Wrestling, so you can see where some guys are weighing, so you can see if there's possible movements. And I think there's going to be some gamesmanship. I know both teams, if they are in the finals, they're going to try to play around with their lineups, or at least kind of make the other team think, try to outwit them, which is fun. That's why duels are fun. You got a little bit of a chess match of a couple places where you can move guys. And last year, I think, 2 years ago, Brownsburg lost the flip, and they knew they kind of were behind the eight ball there. Couldn't really get the matchups they wanted. If they would have gotten the flip, they could have made it really interesting. Last year, they got the flip, and then it came down where they avoided Reinhardt and end up two guys that were like semi-state ranked that duked it out for the win. So
yeah. Was it Clark? Did Clark win that one last year? Was that who they bumped to?
Last year they bumped to.
Oh, it was Aiden White.
Aiden White, yeah, it was White, and I can't remember who the other guy from Brownsburg was, but that was their best matchup to get, to have a chance to win, and they did it. They won the flip, and they got that opportunity to. It came down to two guys that weren't really state ranked guys, weren't guys that were going to contend for a state title, but they battled, and it was a good match.
I think
Daringer.
Yeah, Daringer, yep. Jesse. I think Brownsburg's had some of those where they've I don't know, the bump hasn't really worked for them. I know the one year they bumped away from Mendez and took Gavin Garcia up, and they bumped Blaze up. And I think Tatini ended up beating Gavin Garcia, so I think that ended up hurting them. I think it's gonna be, not that I'm saying this is gonna hurt Crown Point, but I think they're in a different position than they have been in years, where Crown Point might have to make some moves in those lineups, right?
Yeah. So
it'll be interesting to see the moves and moves or what they're doing. I haven't looked at who they have registered online, and but you hear rumors, and some of them you're like, okay, that's true, and that one's not true, and we'll see Saturday. But there's in the 4A probably more than any other one, like 2A, 3A, 1A. You're hearing like guys are getting pulled out for injury. For 4A, you're hearing guys are dropping weights, moving guys around, guys are returning, and like they're use them as like an ace up their sleeve just in case. But then you're like kind of trying to do math, which is hard, and injury math is even harder.
So they have Brownsburg's lineup's not in there, but Crown Points is, and there's some guy named Shepard Clinton listed at 144. Do we know who that is?
I'm not. I don't know. Like, obviously, like I hear from a couple different sides, but like anyone can make their own opinion. But I heard that he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, so that could be very interesting. He's listed on their roster that they put in there.
I heard he's already weighed in a couple times this year,
so that could be that's a pretty good ace in the hole to have, and that
if it happens, obviously
changes the dynamic of that duel big time. They have 22 guys listed, so they also have Lucas Szymborski listed at 215, and you could list anyone anywhere. You could have listed Szymborski at 144 too, or 106. So also
you can go. They have the weights listed for Al Smith next to, if you go to the wrestler. He wasn't very big.
Yeah.
Very good. He's very good. He was a champ. I think he presents a lot of tough matchups for bigger guys because he wrestles like he's a 175. I don't know how many of those guys, get under him and get the boots in like that. But they have all the weights listed. He was under the heavyweight limit. I'll say that.
Oh, why? Let's see. What's it say? I will.
You can look at it. It's light.
Wrestlers. Let's see. Weight class. See the lightest guys. He weighed 216.7, so he actually made 215.
Yeah.
He was the second lightest heavyweight.
and they have and I think that's the Crown Point's that, dude. Obviously, everyone can say I'm a homer or whatever. And if I'm in Crown Point, they tell me I love Brownsburg. If I'm in Brownsburg, they tell me I always talk about Crown Point. I never talk enough about Mater Dei. I hate Fort Wayne, and that's fine. I can, dude. I'm tough. I can live with that. Crown Point's done a really good job of building their depth. Mm-hmm. Their varsity too is really good. They've gone on and beat a lot of really good varsity teams. There's guys that might never see the lineup there that have a lot of ISWA medals. Tony Brooks is really good. He was in the bloodline with the Ironman. That's a nice piece to have as a heavyweight. Like, hey, we can move Simborski to 215 if we need to. We can throw Tony Brooks out there. A guy that won matches in Ohio, probably one of the toughest tournaments in the country, if not the toughest tournament in the country. Yeah. A guy that's, I believe he's a freshman, sophomore champ. He lost to Cam Hayes at 6'5", who was also in the finals of Al Smith. Yeah. I think that's a nice piece to have for those guys.
Yeah, and being able to, usually you don't have very many options at the upper weights. You're kind of stuck, and now they have a couple options there. I don't know what. Actually, I was just looking at it. Where'd it go? What did all of their guys weigh? Because could you? Wrong team. Crown Point. No. So that's going to be tough for the other guys. They go. You're wondering if Reading or Salas could go down. They probably can't.
No, I think Salas was bigger and Reading was bigger than I thought he was too.
Yeah, Salas was 191, Reading was 212, so that's pretty big, hefty cuts, even if they have the body fat, which I can tell you, Caesar probably doesn't have the body fat. He's pretty lean at 90.
Yeah, he's a pretty big, like, 15-year-old to 14-year-old.
His only, I think he has about one more year at 190. To keep Reading in the lineup next year at 215.
Chris Garcia said Brownsburg's deep too.
They're deep in some areas. They have some.
I think Cashman's pretty good.
44 and down, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I think Hockaday's pretty good. Kind of looking at their lineup online, they have Huddleston. I know Huddleston won a lot of national stuff. He's pretty undersized at 6. Still, I don't know if that's something where they would want to bump. I just don't think they have the bumping spots there. Like who would you bump out? Would you bump your 65, 75 out and bump all those guys up a weight? I mean, yeah. Like then who are you giving it to, right? Like who you moving away from?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with at those bigger schools is who you gonna bump out of the lineup and how many.
Yeah, I guess that's the question I would ask Chris is like, which one of your backups has beaten one of the Crown Point starters?
Yeah. I don't see, especially where your good backups are, Crown Point's really, really good. They're having top 5 ranked guys.
Yeah, like even in the 1-versus-1 scenario, if you move Dickman to 26, like who you got to throw out there to beat Lewis? You move Bell to 20, like who you going to throw out there to beat Strayer? Yeah. You move Ducking to 13 and you say, hey, I want to wrestle Strayer with Ducking and give up that weight. Probably at the end of the day, Strayer's going to be a lot bigger. Then you're giving up probably bonus to Sammy. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It maybe. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
Yeah, so but that should be interesting to see how that works out there. Obviously.
Stop making predictions a long time ago, but off the air, I think we're usually pretty close. We're within 1 or 2 points.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting seeing where, and it does say that Van Tichel is at 65. Obviously, that stuff can change, so don't think that. As I said, you could put anyone, you could put all your guys at 106, and see where's Van Tichel. He weighed 62. That's 3 pounds away from 59. So he's a
Yeah.
big kid. So that could be one that you kind of can keep your eye out for, possibly dropping. Yeah, so that could be. Yeah, Shepard is a big wild card. That obviously, if you put him in the lineup there, that changes the dynamic of that duel big time.
Yeah.
At what point, obviously he's not going to be 100%. He had knee surgery. Um, Tommy
So
Gibbs, he's going to go up against Tommy Gibbs, who's no slouch by any means. Double Fargo All American, one of the best
yeah.
wrestlers to not make it to state. Number 3 ranked guy in the state, 3 or 4 ranked guy in the state last year. Where would you, at like what percentage of Shepard do you think beats?
What percentage do you think Jake is right now wrestling against Landon Hawkins?
Yeah.
What percentage do you think Revan Dickman is right now wrestling against Gavin Lewis?
That's going to be, I mean, yeah.
Those are guys that have wrestled in the last couple of weeks, right? Now, and I don't know. I honestly don't. As I say that, I honestly don't know. But, like, if they're 80%, do I think Shepard's 80%? Probably not 80.
Yeah.
But he's pretty good. He's Fargo champ.
Yeah, definitely an 80%. I'd say.
Well, I take Dickman and Hockaday at 80% over 99% of the. I think we discussed what Snyder had up his sleeves. It never worked out for them, right?
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet they're willing to wrestle this one more straight up.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just my conversations that I've had with some of those guys. But I could be wrong. You probably have different conversations than I have. But I think Dickman and Hockaday at 80% is better than 99% of the state, and I'm giving 1% just in case something weird, freaky happens and they get injured. But I don't know. I can't put a percentage on what Shepard is because I haven't asked the kid directly, but I know he looks like he's moving around pretty well.
Yeah. So 80% Shepard is a really good Shepard. I'll take him.
Yeah.
He's probably he's a favorite to win state at 80% or one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Hybert's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, that'd be
Hybert
at 80%. It'd be hard to beat him at 80%.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like I said, like at 80%, I'd probably take him over 95% of the state too.
Yeah.
Like he's pretty good.
So those are 3 big question marks that could affect that duel.
Yeah. And the duels like this always are going to come down to bonus points and who's going to get more bonus points, right? Like and that's kind of what it's come down to the last couple of years. Like who's going to be able to get falls? I mean, I really don't have it in front of me, so I'm not saying that. But like the years that Brownsburg won, they had guys that got bonus points, right?
Yeah.
Like Brayton Lee was a bonus point machine. Nathan Walton got a ton of falls.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was chin whip city and everybody to sticks. Ty Mills found ways to get big pins, right?
Yeah.
When those guys were in that pocket right there, and then the guys around him, the Mulkeys and the all those guys ended up being guys that were getting a lot of bonus points. So it's going to come down to bonus points in those matches. I mean, Goodwin was a bonus point guy. Jesse Mendez obviously got a lot of bonus points for them. Sammy Going got a lot of bonus points. So I don't know who the bonus point guys are now for all of those teams because I think, it just depends where positions you're in. I think Case Bell's a guy that could get a lot of bonus points. Obviously, Jake. Braylon Reynolds is, like I said, wrestling as good as anyone in the state. I watched him tech, Highland Thrine, beat Donovan Allen. Tommy Gibbs beat Donovan Allen this past weekend.
Yeah. Dickman's usually a bonus point machine, but he also has the number 2 guy in the state.
Yeah, and part of that is
that's a guy I'm always thinking that's going to get bonus points for them in 95% of the matches, but then you have a Gavin Lewis who's pretty good.
And I don't know, you have a Gavin Lewis that's pretty good, and he's not necessarily opening up to give a guy like Dickman an opportunity to get bonus points either, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's like one of the hard parts of that is not only do you have someone that's pretty good, but also someone that's not giving you opportunities to get in the position that you're probably the best at.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I'm like, I'd say that I'm just gonna look at the rankings at 120. Dickman probably puts
One,
bonus.
two, three, top three, right?
Yeah. Dickman probably puts bonus on. Oh, he didn't wrestle Gels. Probably anyone. I mean, anyone 10 on down, if not a little bit higher than that. He puts bonus on, and it might be top. I mean, 5th is Meyer.
Anyone that's from 5 to 40 that chooses down, he's putting bonus on.
Yeah.
If you have a coach that's an automatic down guy, you're going to get bonuses put on you. Guaranteed. Yeah. Now, if you're a coach that's like, hey, I've seen this guy wrestle, he's pretty good in the top position, it's probably a little bit harder. He's going to have to get some more takedowns. He's going to have to get on top. But, like, there's still coaches out there that are like, oh, it's a close match. You need to get your one here. He's probably going to go up about 14 on you, especially with 4-point near falls.
So, yeah, you got Lewis, Malone, Bollinger, Cam Meyer. Those are the top 5. So, and then you have Blake Getz. That's pretty tough. You know, he's going to put bonus points on. And that's the kind of the game that you play in those duels that, you know, you put it. Center Grove or Crown Point has someone else there.Maybe, you know, someone like Strayer, who's number 6 in the state, really, really good. But, you know, they have 1-2 at matchups there. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see if that matches up.
You're running out semifinalists at the Ironman at 6, 13, and 20.
Yeah.
You're running out of finalists at 20. Like, that lost a tight match to a world champ, right?
Yeah.
He beat a world champ to get to the finals.
Pinned.
Dominated him.
Or majored him. Pinned him the year before.
Yeah, I think those are very tough. Like, and obviously, the individual side, if you go out there and you wrestle individually, it's a lot different than going in the team part of it. I don't know if he's open up again. I honestly don't know. He's hard to wrestle. He wins a lot.
Yeah. Yes, he wins. That's a key. And he hasn't given up very many points to guys in Indiana.
No, he's like comfortable winning 1-0, and he's comfortable winning 15-0. He's really good. And I'm not just saying that because his mom yells at me if I don't. No, she doesn't yell at me.
She'll put you in air jail.
I don't know what that is.
You'll find out Saturday.
We'll see. But you know, like he doesn't lose a lot. I don't think he's ever lost. He probably hasn't lost even ISWA in the state a lot.
Yeah.
He's probably had bad days in ISWA and still just walked away like with the dub. So, yeah, and what Chris said, man, I'm sure that they do. Like, those guys are great coaches. Like, Arizman's not going to, like, Arizman's in there. Derek's one of the best coaches to do it. Like, he, you know, built a powerhouse in Mishawaka, like, went to a school that didn't, like, value wrestling like that and turned it into a national powerhouse. Like, he's a phenomenal coach. It's going to be hard to outcoach him.
Yeah.
Like, if people are doing top 5 lists and if you don't have, obviously there's a guy from Cathedral that's not a fan of him. And if we asked him, he's probably not in his top 5. But if you ask anybody else in the state, he's probably a top 5 coach on anyone's list.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't doubt that those guys are going to be ready to roll, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I have the Center Grove Brownsburg matchup. So we'll most likely see these at least at regional. You got Ducking Brown, Bell Thrasher, Dickman Malone, Haynes or Hockaday versus Dom Brown, Jake Hockaday versus Eddie Goss. Good one right there.
Reynolds so far.
Reynolds Malone, Gibbs Hornsby, Parker Reynolds Breedlove, Mason Day Silas Stitz, Vanderloo Garten and Weems against non-ranked guys. Then the back end, Henry Jones, Brewer, Flores, and Forrester against some of that. So 57 on below is as good of a duel as you'll get.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the Mooresville Regional is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
You had those guys in there. And, dude, I'm not trashing anyone else. Like, you put 2 national teams in any regional, it's going to be really good. Then you add in, like, the depth of, like, Avon, and then Tri-West is getting better with some guys that moved over there. And we just talked about Whiteland early on. And you're talking about, you know, Plainfield's got some guys over there that has some similar last names and some other guys that are pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's it's done a good job in that area. Obviously, like Contenders has done a good job. They just opened another. I seen that tonight was their grand opening in Noblesville, so I expect Noblesville in that area to be even better in the next 10 years. So it sounds like it's Indy for a while, man. I'm gonna see if they could put a Contenders right here in the region.
You got Howells and Region Wrestling Academy and Bulldog
I know,
Bermuda.
man. But I'm off for America, man. Come in here. I was actually asking someone that today. Like, do you think if Contenders opened like a region, would they be able to compete with like the RWAs and the How and Elite? Like, obviously, those are three, or Midwest, those are the big four over here. But like, but at some point, CIA was the number one, right?
Yeah, CIA
Like,
Northwest.
number one was CIA.
Yeah,
Like, they kind of turned the table on that now. Now they're the number one. CIA is kind of looking out. Overtime was the number one in our area for a long time, and I mean Sean Bormet kind of went on to bigger, better things, I guess. But I guess,
I guess.
but it'd be interesting. I mean, results are results, man. Those guys do a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Should be interesting to see how that goes. I'm excited for
We need an
4A.
academy that keeps guys in Indiana, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's crazy to see some of the academies and the ones that have the longevity and the ones that have fallen off, and it's hard to keep that steam rolling, especially when you lose coaches and they go on to wherever else they're going. And I think one thing with the Contenders is they have continued to add new coaches and good new coaches, and I think that's helped them evolve from
Yeah,
where they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
yeah. I think that they're in like the learning process of getting better, right? Like that first group of guys. I seen Ryan posted it the other day, like through his garage, and then that first group that went through that were getting really good, and now you're getting guys that are nationally like top 5 ranked guys, and then you go, and now they're going to be looking to get All Americans, right? Like college All. They haven't had a college All American, right? Huckins was close.
I do not believe they have. At least I know I can say D1 for sure. There is a website.
Yeah, I don't know if they've had a college All American D1 yet. I'm sure they've had other levels, but I mean that's something that Red Cobra's had, and obviously Regions had pretty significant guys succeed at the next level, and I think this group now will be that group that succeeds, and the group after that might be the guys that are contending for the national championships in college.
I see Combest from Columbus East. I think he was more of like a probably Red Cobra guy. They have a lot of those guys go to Red Cobra or Outlaws. I'm trying to see if no one else. Let's see. NAI, Curvin, Calhoun, Gibson, Mulkey, Garcia. Okay, Asa Garcia.
Yeah.
So he's
Chris Kennedy has the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're like on the precipice of that now with this group, and then I think going forward, I think that next group of kids that'll be the group that'll be competing for national championships and stuff like that at the college level.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, I guess Region kind of had that coming out the gate, right, with Jason. I mean, obviously he had a pretty good influence.
Yeah.
Jason, Stefan. I mean, Stefan's world champ. I seen his shoes drop though. I seen Evan Stanley hair black on black.
I've seen some videos with them, and I know our friend Mr. Stanley got a pair, so I'm just waiting for. I guess you think a world champ should be able to come to Victory Bay to hand deliver some. I mean, you'd think he'd want to come to Victory Bay, but I guess not. So we'll see. Maybe he'll show up at 4A Team State.
East side next for Contenders, man. They're gonna have to fight CIA over there, right?
Yeah.
That's turf war.
Maybe Contenders should go up to Muncie, where Garcia's from.
I know. Take them Southside boys. Come on.
Yeah.
Or the
Southside
Muncie
boys.
Pals.
You got Cowan. You got all those schools over there. You got Yorktown. You have Delta. Go over to Muncie.
You can't be stepping on the Fort and Warrior. Who else is out there? I mean, the Fort. I don't know how close all those guys are.
Still, Muncie's about an hour and a half away. Maybe two. Yeah, about an hour and a half away. So you're creeping in on the territory.
Do those guys end up going to like CIA? Is it closer to go to CIA for those guys?
For like Muncie?
Like the Muncie group, yeah.
Because
I mean, Shenandoah was out that way, like Newcastle out the way. Those guys were all like CIA guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of CIA type. I think CIA is probably one. They go probably to Contenders, or I think a lot are CIA though. If I'm not, I know a lot of the Decatur guys go there. I know Belmont kids, they have some stuff there, so they're kind of in a little area where they can go lots of different directions. I think they might go over to Cathedral too. With
Indianapolis needs it, bro.
Yeah, Outlaws. I'll say this much: they're probably one of the sneakier, good clubs. They're not out there really trying to, go out there for clout, but they've always had good practice rooms and stuff. And I've heard a lot of good things about the Baileys and them. Baileys are good people. Grandma Bailey's
I've seen those guys the last couple of weeks, man. Braden and Logan out there grinding, running teams, and just that's what it takes, man. You see it all the time. Like the guys that are putting the most work are the teams that are going to be doing the best, and I think they've done a good job.
Yeah, I think Outlaws doesn't do a lot of big promotion. They kind of just do it kind of word of mouth and kind of low key, and they always put together some good teams and have some really good practices from everything I've seen. So that's kind of one of those ones you don't hear the big hub-ho about, but they've always had good practices and good kids and great coaches.
Leidy was an All-American, right? CIA had an All-American and Dylan Leidy?
No, he was not.
I thought he was. I thought he got like
2020.
I thought they gave those guys All-Americans.
Well, they did, but he got the honor of an All-American, but never got it from the wrestling. He was like a top 3 or 4 seed then.
I'm giving him the All-American, bro. Come on.
Okay. So, anything else we want to talk about? Anything else you want?
I think we talked about a lot, man. We talked about a lot.
I thought it was going to be a shorter episode, and then 2.5 hours later.
Where are you going to Brownsburg?
Yes, I will be at Brownsburg.
Weird, so am I.
So we will meet up, and in the
hopefully Kenny's out there on the. They gonna let Kenny out there on the grill or what?
I don't know, maybe. I haven't talked to him. I'll have to ask him if he's gonna be grilling anything out. I know Rocco will come for the chicken on the bone. Dude, he inhaled those things.
He was grabbing stuff right off the hot grill.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care. So yeah, he loved that chicken on the bone there. He's like, oh, I want McDonald's and stuff. So then he didn't even touch his McDonald's. So
try to talk my brother into going with me.
So I think that's it for this week. We will, if you're in Brownsburg, come say hi. We're gonna be following along all throughout the day, and lots of great wrestling this weekend. So good luck to all those at Team State and all the girls at the regionals that will feed into state. So lots of great things coming up, and hopefully everyone has a good week.
Yeah, good luck to Kylie Spencer and Ali Luca at girls regional.